looking pretty gray. So guys, if you watched a few episodes back where I was showing you about my upgrades and changes to my Hobie Pro Angler for the 2023 season, I said I would be swapping out my trolling motor. Well, I got the trolling motor in. I want to quickly walk you guys through on how I installed it. And I also want to talk about some of the benefits and features of this motor, how I'll be powering it, and what I think of it versus my older motor, which was a Torqeedo 403 ultralight. So you guys stay tuned. All right, let's go take a look in the box. I'll show you what's inside. Well, it doesn't come with Tackle Warehouse stickers, that's for sure. Your manual. Look at all these goodies. Steering control, a locking shaft collar, the motor itself. Comes with a battery quick disconnect, your throttle, your cable to the motor. You have two little grab handles that say what they are on it. That one says reverse or lift. It says lift on there. Pretty cool. Your little magnet for your kill switch. Your mounting bracket with a trim adjustment. That's going to come in handy. I've never got to play around with that. I'll show you my current setup that's kind of Frankenstein together. It's like they even give you electrical tape and some steel cable and connectors for if you want to do steering with your feet. You have the option. I guess that's the lift cable or reverse cable. Have another cable here. There's a pin. Got quite a few things in this kit. Also, you have a lift assist bar. In this kit, you get a little bag with some hardware, some box wrenches, Allen wrenches, and a little support team card with some type of pigtail in there for the controller, I would assume, for the throttle control. Another battery kill switch and another piece of paracord. And that's it. Time. If you're installing this on a Hobie PA12 or 14, you're going to need this guy here. And I'll put a link in the description below. But like I said, this is Frankenstein. These are parts from a Torqeedo. These are parts from a water snake. These are parts from God knows where. I don't know, but it's got a lot of different things going on. This is a part from Kevin Demuke on Facebook, who built custom brackets for different types of trolling motors, Minn Kotas, motor guides. I got this bracket when I received my Torqeedo when I bought it used. First, I got to get rid of all this. The transition over to the Newport should be fairly easy if I decide to use the hardware I already have within the kayak. This is stuff that I've made. I cut holes in this plate. Ran these cords to the steering mechanism here under the plate. All that should be fairly simple. Of course, this motor is going to be a lot heavier, so stowing it and lifting it may be different. So we may have to change some things up, but as you can see, I just have a piece of cord tied off to this shaft collar with a carabiner running all the way up through the little paddle holder all the way up to the front here, which I have one of these, I think it's made by Night Eyes. I just have it clipped here, and I've tied a loop in the piece of paracord and put a piece of rubber on it for a pull handle there. All right, first I'm going to remove my steering mechanism. These were little Night Eyes clips too. Same thing as the front that I just showed you, but smaller. These are really cool. Disconnect those. Going to disconnect the lift like that. And then I did this myself. I opened up this hinge, put a bolt and a nut through it, so when I didn't want the motor on, I didn't have to try to disconnect anything here. All I would do is take my fishing pliers like so to hold the nut. Not like that. I bet that sounds good on camera. Take the nut off, lift it up a little bit, pull the pin out, and the motor is off. Now we have to take the controller off. So one thing about the motor that I built, guys, it's a little water snake. It's a 24-pound thrust motor, which isn't much, but it actually does, I call it my pedal assist motor, because with an easy pedal, you could do about 4.1, 4.2 miles per hour, which isn't bad. And that's with a fully loaded kayak and my big butt sitting inside. So now it's time to take off the controller. As you can see, I made this controller, which we may be, again, using some of these parts to mount the Newport. I just have a Hobie H-Rail 1-inch ram ball mount with a dog bone, and I epoxied the mount to the back of this waterproof enclosure. Very straightforward. Had a speed control switch right here. That was off, an off switch. Up is forward, back is reverse. Motor and controller is off. Now it's time to take off the mounting plate. And again, the reason we're taking all of this off is because I have to get to the nuts on the back side of this plate for all 4 of these bolts here. And as you can see, I didn't even have stainless steel hardware here, so all of this needed to be changed anyway. All right, guys, we got all 4 bolts out. We have the 2 plastic clamps that go on the bottom of the H-rail out. Now it is time to take these 2 Phillips heads off on the front. We'll remove this whole plate and we'll begin removing this bracket. All right, we got the mount flipped over. Now we're going to start removing these 4 nuts. Pull this plate off. There's little holes on each side of this steering cam here. I just knotted this paracord in, and this was just some vinyl tubing I had to keep the paracord from dry rotting in the sun and just to protect it from getting a hook in it or something like that. We got the plate off, so as you can see, we a little rust under there. I'm going to clean this up, and then we're going to get the Newport plate on. So here's the hardware kit. You get 4 6mm Allens with washers, lock washers, and the nut. They even give you 2 10mm box wrenches and this other little angle guy for, I guess, getting underneath. I don't know. We'll see. We don't read instructions around here, but it did come with them. But that's probably why I'll be doing this all over again. These 4 holes here on the mounting plate line up perfectly with the 4 holes on the Hobie power pole mount, is what I'll call it. Now this would be a lot easier if I didn't have my Railblazer 360 mount here. I don't feel like taking it off. Little washer, lock washer. Now our mount is on. Now we need to go back and we need to put our 2 Phillips head screws here and our brackets for the H-rail in the back. And they give you this nice opening right here in the mount so you can place your screws right down through the holes. All right, guys, my camera woman has some work to do, so I'm going to be filming by myself. So instead of trying to hold the phone and work at the same time, I'll probably do some work and show you what I'm doing. But we did get the mounting plate mounted to the power pole plate. 2 Phillips are back in the front. We have the 2 brackets on the back with the H-rail. Feels really solid, not going anywhere. Let's move on to getting the motor on. So when you pull this cable here, that locks onto that bar. Can you see that? Like that. Then when the motor tries to reverse, it won't kick up. We have the steering tree on. Now we're going to, we had to take the bolts out of the clamp that hold the steering tree. There's one on the bottom, there's one on the top. We're going to slide this in right there. Obviously, it's going to go much taller than that. I got to adjust this, but we'll play with that in just a second. I'll have to go to the instruction manual read, but they have theirs all the way at the top like that, which that puts the motor really deep into the water column. I don't know if it has to be that deep. I'd rather it be running a little bit more shallow. That's how I ran all my other ones. That may be something I got to play around with. Even that to me looks a little too deep. Yeah, let's go with that. Now obviously this top steering tree is adjusting your depth up and down. This bottom one will allow you to, once you do have it stowed, how far up you want it so it'll be balanced. You want to make sure the motor is straight with the kayak and the tree is straight with the motor. And then everything should line up right. And once you get that figured out, then you want to make sure your rudder, once you deploy your Hobie rudder, that when you connect these, everything is turning in unison, the motor is turning in unison with the rudder, and that everything is lined up. If not, that's why I put these little cleats here. They're easy to adjust one way or the other. Provided this paracord with a little carabiner with a twist lock on it. So this is going to be our lift rope. So what we're going to do, we connect this end of the carabiner here at the top. And again, like I said, this may have to be adjusted. We screw it down like so. And the other end of this cord is going to run through this little eyelet that they provide on the mounting bracket. I'm going to run it through just like that. And there you are. Now, just judging by the look of this, it's definitely going to have to go higher, but we'll see. I'm going to run this paracord just like I did my original here. I have this Railblazer 360 light adapter. I'm just wondering if I should run through this eyelet or go this direction. Yeah, I'm going to run it through the same eyelet. I don't think it'll affect anything. Basically going the same route that I showed you earlier, going through this here. Paddle holder will go under the boondocks all the way up to the front. That feels pretty good. I'm already modifying. So this is the lift assist bracket, and that typically mounts to this steering tree here. When you have the steering tree up at the top with this bracket, that bracket mounted to the top so it sticks up high to give you leverage, it really puts this motor really down far in the water column, and I don't think it needs to be that low. I could have moved this bracket up on top of the mount here, which would keep it from going down, but then I have nothing on the bottom protecting the housing when I stow it. So I'm leaving this bracket here, and what I did is I took another bracket off of my old motor and I stuck it up here. And this is what I'm going to mount that to. The problem was the hole didn't line up with this bracket. This part kind of stuck out too far, so I just took a little slither off of this edge here, and hopefully this works. So what it does for me is I'll still have the leverage I need with the piece up high, but I have the steering tree as low as possible, which keeps my steering lines level, and it makes it easier to turn. And of course, the motor's not as far down in the water, which I like. I don't know if I'm losing speed by doing that, but to me it just makes sense to have it up out of the water as much as possible on a kayak. Plus two, it aids in not hitting stumps and as many obstacles under the water. So I know I said that I'd be running this cable through here, this little eye bolt that they have included with the mount. But as you can see, as I pull, with this being up high to give me more leverage, I'm coming straight down now, which makes it really hard to pull from the seat. So what I may end up doing is still rerouting this cable to the Hobie pad eye here, which would give me a smoother transition this way, and also slide the motor all the way up when it's stowed in this position. And also that'll keep it balanced if I don't want to take it off when transporting the kayak. Let's see if that works. All right guys, next up is this little pigtail here, which will plug into the controller. You just have to remove this bottom plate. This will screw directly in here. It's just a quick disconnect, so you don't have to leave the controller connected to the main harness of the motor. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 number 2 millimeter Allens. Remove those, we'll make our connection, run the cable down this way, and put the plate back on. Okay, we have the plate removed, and just be mindful when you do remove the plate, you are removing it with the handle. And there's also two little recesses here that hold the nuts for the ram mount that's going to screw into there. When I took the plate off, these fell out and fell on the floor, so be mindful of that when you're adding the cable. But as you can see, we added the cable here. It just screws on, won't go on but one direction. And then you have this other connection point at the other end. So now let's put the cover plate back on. Okay, after further inspection, you don't have to remove this plate to get the cable in. It actually just wedges right in. So that's my mistake. Probably said that in the instructions, but yeah, don't make the same mistake I did. Okay, now we're going to use the 1-inch ram ball attachment. This is, I just pulled this off the old controller here. So that fits directly right on the back side of this. Okay, that's all mounted up nicely. We're going to use the same Hobie H-rail mount that we used before. Okay, and that's what that looks like. You guys know how ram mounts work, so tons of adjustability. You can position it any way you want. And that's what that looks like. Again, all this may need to be tweaked. As you can see, I didn't use the pad eyes. This seems to be working better for my situation. Now, I could have issues when I have my 360 pole here and trying to stow. We'll figure that out as we go. And what I may just do is put a bungee from one of these eyelets to the other in transport just to keep it tight, and it won't be able to slide back because of this collar here if I do a loop here. So it's just an added feature of safety. If this fails while going down the road, this slips, at least that bungee back there would catch it and keep the motor from hanging and bouncing around. And we will be using this quick disconnect for the battery. So let's get into the power. Very robust. That is 8-gauge wire. Has your terminations here. Even comes with a 14mm wrench in the bag. So I'm going to cut this zip tie, open it up the rest of the way, and see what we got here. So we have this end of the battery quick disconnect with ring terminals on this side. That's going to go directly mounted to this battery here. This is the battery I'll be running. This is a 24 volt. This is a 24 volt system, 1.8 horsepower. This is a 24 volt, 50 amp hour. Plenty of juice. Definitely should get me running throughout the whole day at a high speed. I think even higher than my Torpedo, honestly. So, but we're going to play around with that and see. But it has Bluetooth. It works with either Apple or Android-based operating systems, so you can check the status of your battery, your charge percentage, if you have an issue within the cells, whether it be your cells in series or parallel. I tournament fish with the guys that own this company. They're great guys. It's made here in America, by Americans for Americans. So Volta Lithium, if you guys are interested in them, check them out on voltalithium.com. And you can use Big Bass Tony 10 to save you 10% on your order. So you can't go wrong with that. I'll be constantly giving you guys updates on this battery as I test it more, along with testing this motor, give you run times, distances, and all that good stuff. But really excited to be a part of this company. Okay, so now we're to the other end. Again, this is just a big Anderson plug that will plug into here. So now we need to take this side, and you can see it has nuts inside of there that we will connect our leads coming out of the top of the motor. We just need to remove this little cover first, and they even provide a little Allen wrench to do so. So let's take that cover off. Okay, we got those nice and snug with the provided 14mm box wrench. So now we're just going to add the cover back, and that's it for that part. Okay, that is all done, nice and clean. It's going to be a simple connection right here. Just plug it in, and we got juice. And of course, the other third cord would go to the controller. So real quick, let's do an overview. One thing I do suggest, if you're not running the metal cables that come with the kit, we didn't use those. If you're using paracord, I've used these for 2 or 3 years now, I believe. I'm not sure how long. It's been a while. Knock on wood, they have not broken yet, and they're easy to work with. But if you are doing the foot-assisted steering, you definitely want to use the cables. But for my purposes, this works, and I would just suggest getting these little Night Eyes cam cleat beaners. Those come in handy. And plus, like I said, adjusting your steering triangle, this makes it easy because you could add or you could take away or add slack as you need it per each side. Outside of that, I may end up switching out this cable to a thicker paracord just to make it fit better within this Night Eyes cam. This string seems a little bit small, so it's not getting a really good bite on it. This cord seems to be a little more stretchy than what I'm used to with the paracord, so may swap that out eventually. Obviously this will work. There's different ways to do this. You don't have to use these. There's all sorts of ways you could do this. Again, this was my setup utilizing what I already have. Quick install. I think it's going to be good. It looks great. Lots of things. Like I said, we didn't use the reverse control to lock it in place. There's also an option to place a pin. This little piece right here on the front, it's kind of shadowy. That's so you can place a pin. If I lift the motor up, you see there's a hole right there below, and that lines up with it. You put a pin down in there, and it keeps this from rotating left or right. There is that option. So that's all we have left over. Parts, not bad. That was for the reverse. That's the reverse handle. Cable we spoke about, and an extra magnetic kill switch. Looking forward to using this motor. Like I said, I am going to talk about differences between this motor and the Torqeedo. I can already see that the prop is smaller than the Torqeedo, but this is a direct drive, so I don't know if it has more RPMs, but we'll find out. We're going to test this thing, so we'll see. That's going to be it for this one, guys. I'm going to get this battery set up, and then hopefully we'll be on the water soon. I'll have links to the Newport motor down below. I'll have links to the Volta battery below, and any other parts and accessories that you may need to finish out this installation. If this installation video helped you out, you know what to do. Stay tuned for the next one, guys. We got Houston County Tournament coming up. It's going to be a great event. Looking forward to it. The big ones are to be chewing. You guys keep guiding your heart and rod in your hand. Come on. Can't wait to get on the water.